Thank you, Mr. President. The facts are on this side of the House, we've just heard. Well, what I'm going to do is not present a financial argument. I'm going to present an argument against paying for tuition fees. And I think that if the argument is good enough, then society will actually find the money to pay for tuition fees. If you believe in it strongly enough, then you'll find the money to do so. And I think that university tuition fees fundamentally change the relationship between two groups of people. One, the university as an institution and the student, and secondly, the student and the general public. And that relationship between those groups of people, I think that's problematic for all concerned. And that's why I'm arguing to support the motion and to abolish tuition fees. Let's look at the relationship between the student and the university, and why I think the introduction of fees was a retrograde step, and why I'd welcome them being scrapped. Once a student becomes fee paying, it shifts the dynamic in the relationship. It's not an automatic thing, and it's not something that applies to everyone, but it does change that relationship, and I challenge anyone to say otherwise. I've paid my fees and I demand something for my money. This can be the cry of a student who's engaged in this relationship of exchange, which can be harmful to the building up of an educational relationship between the lecturer and the student. Look for a minute at the case that Pok Wong has recently taken out against Anglia Ruskin University. The degree, she says, does not play a role to help secure a rewarding job with prospects. She refers to her first-class degree in international business strategy as a Mickey Mouse degree, and she's suing them for more than 60k. As one of the reports on it commented, students are increasingly seeing themselves as customers due to the thousands of pounds a year they pay in tuition fees. And while this might be an extreme case, and I'm sure that some of you will say this does not represent the majority of students, and you may well be right, the fact that this case exists at all, I would argue, is entirely because of the existence of university fees. It's just one end of a spectrum where the paying student expects something for their money. And it's not just expecting something for their money, they expect something in particular. They expect a predetermined outcome, which assumes no input from themselves, and in this case, the student expected to walk into a well-paid job in the business world. That's her case. Well, not only does the education system not work in such a robotic fashion, neither does the world of business, as I'm sure everyone here will know. As I've said, this might well be the extreme, but there are lower level and other examples of the fee-paying student making assumptions about what they are entitled to, whether that's a particular grade, or whether it's a response to an email within a particular time frame, or demand that something must be done because I pay £9,000 a year and in return this is what I want. And it's that last bit that's problematic. This is what I want. Education system doesn't work that way, and you cannot simply translate it into a typical business transaction. While you can pay for an education, you cannot simply purchase a degree. A degree does not entitle you to a particular job. Both have to be worked for. And this instrumental and utilitarian approach to higher education, I would argue, has been brought about largely, but not exclusively, by the payment of fees, and is exemplified best, or if you like, seems its worst, by the announcement this week that more than 1,000 students have signed up to a lawsuit to claim money back from their university following the industrial action that took place early this year by UCU members in over 60 universities. But it's not simply a one-sided problem, the relationship between the university and the student. That changed relationship, I think, is problematic for the university itself. It's meant that universities have to prepare themselves against litigation. They have to devote time, resources, emotion, energy to defend themselves. Universities have had to create jobs and departments to deal with issues which are a direct result of an increasingly litigious student body. Some might say that it's a good thing that universities are reacting to student demands, but watch your back should not be a guiding principle of a university, should not be a mission statement of a university. Students do pay a lot of money, and they should expect whatever it is that they expect. but that's too often heard in the academy. It devalues what the role of the institution should be, which is to educate students and to support lecturers and other university staff to do that, and to provide an environment in which learning can flourish. However enlightened a university is, it will still have things in place to watch its back, as they have an eye on ensuring that students do not complain, that they say the right thing in the National Student Survey, and that students are kept happy, or at the very least content. And if they're not happy, what can we do about it, is what the university then says. Now, I've no desire for a university to become a place where young people do not want to come to, and they should find it an enjoyable and pleasurable experience. But academics and university staff should not have a guiding principle of keep the fee-paying student happy. Students need to be challenged, they need to be pushed. And in order to make progress in their learning, it may not always be that a student is happy in being challenged and being pushed, but it should mean that they are learning. Challenging and pushing students can be seen as a no-no in a risk-averse institution concerned with a possible decline in numbers and subsequently a decline in fees income. This is not how I think university education should be, and it's caused in part by the payment of fees. Now, the other relationship that I mentioned has changed because of the introduction of university fees is because the student is between the student and the public, society at large. The argument goes, and we've heard it already from the other side, you go to university, you will benefit from that, and therefore you have to pay. It's become a common view amongst many in society, including some people in this room. Well, 3 of them at the very least, or 2. I do not accept that premise. I don't accept that premise at all. In my view, society benefits from individuals being educated to degree levels. If that's the case, and you believe that, then society should pay for that. How it's paid, whether through general taxation or through other measures, that doesn't really concern me. But society at large should be, paying for something which we all benefit from. It should not be down to the individual, regardless of whether or not the method of repaying it is judged as fair. It should not be down to the individual. And because we have fee-paying students at university, I think that creates a divide. I think it creates a divide which is unhelpful and which can be antisocial, and I think over the last 20 years it has really eroded the community spirit and the idea that the students and the public are as one. And if you see yourself, if you as a student see yourself as being the only one who benefits from a university education, what responsibility do you then have to the wider society? Arguably none. You may have benefited from the support, financially or otherwise, from your own family, but you will not believe you have a commitment to give anything back other than to those people who are closest to you, as you've been given nothing to help you during the course of your degree. If you wanted a way to destroy altruistic attitudes, introducing fees for university education is one of them. And it was quite shocking at the way that it happened, so quickly. The idea that it's perfectly acceptable to charge fees for university education, which we all benefit from. I guess with a number of things we can blame Tony Blair for that. I want to end on a personal anecdote from 1997, a time when some of you may have been born, a time when some of you may not have been born. But at the graduation ceremony for my Masters, the year before fees were introduced, the University Chancellor took the opportunity to say a few words to those assembled in the room getting their degrees. And he said, people are saying that if you study for a degree, you have to pay for it because you are the one who benefits. What a strange idea. You are not the only person in society who benefits from you having a degree. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to support the motion. Thank you.